Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. I'm on here today to do a DIY desk organizer using a foam board. Pretty simple, pretty cheap, $2, I swear. So what you want to do is, that's my only drawer in my little desk. You need an X-Acto knife, a pencil, and a ruler, or a ruler or measuring tape. Measuring tape seemed to be easier. So you measure the inside of your desk, which mine happened to be 8 inches, and then 2.5 tall, but really I didn't end up using the sides at all, and it was 14 inches long. So it's like a really small kind of drawer. You do want to measure some of your bigger makeup, and I will show you why in a second. So what you want to do is you want to take your foam board and your pencil and your measuring tape, and you want to measure out, of course, width or length first. That's really a perspective of you. I'm just measuring 8, and then I go to 14. It's pretty simple. And then you want to take something flat and straight, of course, to make a straight line, so you can cut straight, because God knows I do not cut straight, ladies. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, you just want to take it, and of course I didn't go straight, so I erased a little bit. So I'm just using a fan card from a circus. Anyway, so what you want to do is you just want to cut that out. Be very careful. That X-Acto knife was extremely sharp. My husband, I don't even like to use it a lot, but that's really the only way you can cut a foam board. Please be careful. When I went to go and measured it in, the 14 inches was just a little too long, so I ended up cutting it down a little bit, and that's the bottom of the foam board. So now you got your base. And that's the extra. So part 2 now is going to be making the, which I thought I was going to be making the walls to make it like a box, but I decided to not make the walls. So right here I'm cutting out, or I'm measuring out 2.5 inches. But I decided after I cut it out, what am I talking about? That I decided, you know what? I don't really need walls. I just need my spacers. So I took those 2.5, which is fine because it's the same width, or it's the same height that you need it. So you want to measure. I can only use my drawer about 8 inches in. My drawer doesn't open up, so I can't use the whole 14 inches, which kind of sucks, but it's okay. So I ended up measuring out of my 14, out of the base, I ended up measuring 8, and then I ended up cutting one of those pieces to start making my spacers. It's pretty simple. It is pretty simple. Oh, and you will need a hot glue gun. Totally forgot about that hot glue gun. I ended up taking off probably a little less than an inch to make sure that it went into my drawer, no problem. But now you want to take your big makeup, big round, kind of like foundations and tall things, and space out where you want them to go, so you can get your spacers and your dividers correctly spaced out. You know what I mean? And yeah, so it's pretty simple. It's actually it took me maybe 30 minutes to do this whole thing. It's not that big of a deal. I took some of my long stuff. I needed to make sure that you need to make sure that they're all the same height, of course. So some of them were just a little too tall still, so I had to cut those down. And now I'm spacing out. I'm going to do like 4 containers. So I just wanted to make sure I had everything labeled or lined out. And here I'm cutting another piece out of that 2.5, and you just go in and you separate it all out. Make sure you line up everything before you hot glue. Trust me, it just saves time. It just and you really don't want to use more than your foam board unless it's only $1.70, girls. You could have messed up because I definitely did. I'm not perfect at these things, but hey, it works, and it's only $2, not even. So now you're just going to take and hot glue the bottom down and make sure that your foam board is like a flat bottom so it sits nice and flat. I did have some that I had to recut because they weren't flat on the bottom. So now I'm just taking my 2 long pieces, and there you go. And then I measured, made sure they fit again. And then I was deciding if I wanted to make a 3rd compartment, which I ended up doing. Made a 3rd compartment for my mascara. And then a 4th compartment for my primer. And I ended up not putting my primer in there, ladies. I ended up putting my foundation in there. So, but they were the same height and width anyway, so it's no big deal. But I ended up grabbing for my primer more than anything. So now you'll just hot glue that other piece, stick it down, hot glue the last piece, and you do want to, right here I totally went on a camera, but you do want to measure or make sure that your corners are down, and like secure. So I went in and hot glued like a bunch of the corners and even went down the main path and made sure that it was stuck to the board even more. And then you want to, with this piece, I was going to make sure that it stuck to the other board, flesh. So I hot glued, I measured out where that little spacer went, and I hot glued that so they would stick together. It's pretty self-explanatory. Not that actually hard. And then I did go and measure again. You let it dry. I went in and put some more hot glue down to make sure. And there's my compartments. The back, I'm